Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. An important question to ask when establishing any given productivity framework is how much maintenance the framework itself requires. Rules for productivity are of no use if just keeping them in mind all the time necessitates significant mental effort. Likewise, productive capital that breaks down frequently might be more of a liability than an asset. The more conceptually simple a productivity framework is, the easier it is to follow, and thus the more reliably it brings about results. The more of any productive process that one can automate or reduce in complexity, the less maintenance a productivity framework will require. One of the most reliable ways to reduce the amount of mental effort per unit of productive output is to create many extremely similar units of output in succession. The assembly line worker does this by performing an identical procedure on a multiplicity of different units of a product in sequence. Depending on the nature of one's endeavors, it is possible to do this to a greater or lesser degree in one's personal life as well. Repetition of work greatly reduces the costs of transition from one endeavor to another. Ceasing to do something and beginning to do something else necessarily entails an expenditure of time and productive resources. Not only do one's physical assets need to be redirected, but one's state of mind must likewise be adjusted to fit the new activity. Some such adjustments are necessary just by virtue of the fact that in order to flourish, people need to perform a multiplicity of tasks. But by delving extensively into one task, finishing it, and then moving on to another, such costs of transition are reduced as greatly as possible. Furthermore, repetition of work enables one to enter into a near-automatic, productive pattern, which becomes a default mode of functioning for the duration of the work performed. This has been called a state of flow by some psychologists, and is more popularly known as being in a groove. By reducing the amount of mental effort required and by immersing the worker fully in the procedure, such states greatly enhance productivity for their duration. It is possible to engage in systematic repetition for many more endeavors than one suspects. Any task, intellectual as well as physical, involving multiple repetitions of the same actions, can be structured in such a way as to minimize transition costs by focusing one's energy at any given time on addressing a particular step that can be repeated in rapid succession. So now, at this point in the series, I ask the question, who becomes productive? What ultimately separates more productive individuals from less productive ones is the attention given to productivity enhancement and the diligence with which such enhancement is pursued. At no instant can a marked improvement be expected, though it sometimes does occur quite rapidly. But sustained efforts at any given worthwhile task, coupled with rational analysis of why it is indeed worthwhile, can result in a dramatic rise in productivity over time. More importantly, this rise in productivity, unlike a temporary increase in output due to momentary enthusiasm, can be maintained indefinitely. Making productive work a habit ultimately renders it less painstaking and more enjoyable, whereas a reliance on the emotional spur of the moment will inevitably lead to disappointment once the excitement and correspondingly the productivity fade. Productivity per se has no relation to how an individual feels about it. That is, feeling one way or the other about a task does not alter its productive or counterproductive nature. However, one's attitudes toward a given kind of work can affect one's likelihood to undertake that kind of work in the future, and thus are an important factor to consider in boosting productivity. Productivity applied rationally and systematically need not be painful. On the other hand, it is not desirable that it be accompanied by euphoria either, for any euphoria is fleeting. Only the productivity which is possible in a calm, moderate, level-headed state of mind can be sustained. Neither exceptional energy nor piercing brilliance nor good fortune can be relied on in accomplishing a prolonged improvement in one's quality of life. Only the force of habit, the power of reason, and the gradual alteration of one's natural tendencies can consistently yield fruit. Thank you very much.